Hello, everybody. Welcome to Speed Force Media. My name is Derek, and today we are talking about James McAvoy and his thoughts and somewhat of criticism of his own X-Men movies and whether or not Marvel has called them. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of Marvel comic book movies or movie news in general, please consider subscribing to the channel as it does help us reach more listeners like you. And if not, that's totally fine. We're just glad to have you here. Thanks so much. Let's get into it. We've been wondering for years now, really, when is the X-Men, the actual X-Men, Charles Xavier, Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Beast, going to show up and either interact with the Avengers or the main cast in the MCU. But we've seen certain MCU or mutant characters in the MCU before, but we haven't seen familiar faces from the newer X-Men movie, like Michael Fassbender's Magneto, who I thought was just absolutely brilliant. I love Ian McKellen as Magneto. I think he is iconic, one of the best comic book movie villains ever. But honestly, I think Michael Fassbender is up there as well. And honestly, I might even prefer James McAvoy's interpretation of Charles Xavier more just because of the way he was written throughout his films. Now, not all of his films were great, and over the years, he has expressed that he knows not all of his films were great, and he has expressed in the past that he had two really great experiences and two not-so-great experiences. But now he's going into one of his criticisms and one of the things McAvoy wishes the franchise had done differently. Quote, "Making the X-Men movies was one of the most positive experiences I've had with a studio. I don't really see them as just money gigs. Days of Future Past, I think, is one of the better films that I've been involved in. My biggest criticism of what we did throughout the four movies was that after the first movie, we didn't take advantage of the relationship between Xavier and Michael Fassbender's Magneto, which really formed the backbone of the first film. So it was like, why did we just eject that massive weapon? Now, apparently that's something of a divisive comment because some fans of the X-Men movies were getting tired of the constant feud between Xavier and Magneto in every single X-Men movie. But, I personally, as a fan of those movies, just my thoughts, I thought that the relationship between Michael Fassbender and the chemistry between Fassbender and McAvoy was great. And it was the heart of those newer X-Men movies, for me anyways. And for that relationship to be expanded upon after First Class would have been great. You did see a lot of it in Days of Future Past. I would have liked to have seen more, but that movie was so good that I don't know if you could have made it any better. But movies like X-Men Apocalypse, X-Men Dark Phoenix, there's so much you could have taken out of those movies and added more time with Xavier and Magneto with McAvoy and Fassbender, and it definitely would have made those movies better. At least on paper. It all comes down to script, of course. And now that that is a dead franchise and that the X-Men is going to be coming into the MCU, and no signs have pointed to McAvoy or Fassbender reprising their roles, it does sound like that story is officially over, and it's probably been over for a while now. But it is nice to know that one of the stars of that franchise also shares one of the frustrations that a lot of the fans like me have also had. Now, it has not 100% been confirmed that McAvoy and Fassbender could never show up in some sort of capacity or cameo appearance or just full-on return in the MCU going forward. It's 100% possible in Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars or any sort of MCU project that they want to insert the X-Men into, or even just those individual characters. But according to an interview with GQ, McAvoy said, "I've definitely not got the call, and if I did, I would definitely not be telling you." Like I said before, I would personally love to see it. I think McAvoy and Fassbender are great in the roles, and I would love to see them play those characters for the next 30 years in the MCU. That'd make the MCU, for me, a lot more appealing going forward the next 10 years. Because right now, it kind of feels like the best years of the MCU are behind us, and I'd really like to start getting excited again. There are certainly some projects that I am looking forward to, and the X-Men is definitely going to be one of them. Whether McAvoy and Fassbender are connected or not, I'm sure they could find great actors for those roles, and you wouldn't have to explain how all the timelines fit in together, and it'd be much less confusing. But what do you guys think? Do you think there's any hope for James McAvoy or Michael Fassbender's return in X-Men going forward in the MCU, or do you think they'll go in a completely completely new direction, a more modern take, and something that is less familiar and has less baggage. Whatever you think, let us know in the comments below, as we'd love to get your insight. Thanks for being here, and have a great day.